welcome back to Two Fairs for the Avengers Reserve Podcast, episode 10. And I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by Sad Boy Care. How you doing today, Care?
I'm alright, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It was a very busy shift at the pub last night, so a little bit tired.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
It seems that just every week now England just seems to win a game and everyone goes a little bit crazy.
Well, yeah.
Last week it was myself, but, you know, this week it was just the entire country. So, big scenes, really. Big scenes for us getting through the Euros.
Yeah.
Bring on Saturday, I suppose. That'll be the next game that I think we have. Yeah, it's all good. You looking very much to go into Florida?
Yeah. It's getting closer and closer, and I'm getting, a little bit more nervous every single day. But I'm also really excited about it. I'm dreading the car ride down, but the rest of it I'm excited for. So,
the car journey in specific looks very draining. But it's like we were speaking, you can very easily do it, but just be sure to kind of take some breaks and things like that. So the one thing that I've just never understood about America is that it's just so big. What is it like? What is it like driving there, across the country?
it's just exhausting. It's just so exhausting. And, people are just so dumb. If you get it on a good day, there's, not a lot of idiots, but there's always at least 3 on the way down. And, last time I went down to North Carolina, actually, someone almost killed me, probably. If they had hit me, I would have, spun out and, I was on, it was, a bridge over a city. So if they had hit me, I would have spun out over the bridge and into the street in the city, below. It was, the way they, passed me, it was, so close to the back of my car that they would have, they could have hit me very, very easily. And then I spent, the next 5 minutes thinking about how, wow, I almost died. And then I was like, okay, let's just keep going, because I still had, 4 hours left. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does get like that.
It's very stressful.
Yeah. I mean, the only way that I can kind of think about it is, you ever seen Race to Witch Mountain? I think it's Race. The one with Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
It was the remake, yeah?
Yeah.
And he's just driving across basically just nothingness. For
yeah,
hours.
That's mostly what it is. It's
really?
Mostly just
really
nothing.
Like that?
Yeah. It depends on where you are, but 90% of the time it just looks like trees and and then on the other side of the other trees there's more cars. And then that's all you see is trees.
Okay.
And cars.
Interesting. We both did get a chance to check out the new trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yes.
Obviously the big reveal being Abomination, where we get to see him completely mess up one of the wizards. That was a nice little reveal there, and overall a really good trailer to kind of keep us on the toes and keep us interested in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I feel like they've been very heavy on doing Black Widow stuff lately. So I'm glad that they kind of took a break from that for a little bit to give us a little bit of a sprinkle of Shang-Chi and be you can still be excited about this one too. You know? I don't know anything about Abomination. We were talking about this beforehand. I don't know anything about him, but I'm excited to see how they what they do with it, I guess, and what his thing is, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it's just so from the original Hulk, they kind of did leave the story open, referring to Abomination. So, it's just interesting to kind of see him make his return. He's basically the anti-Hulk, or a bad Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong character in the MCU as well, as you can imagine. So, I don't know what his role is going to be. From the snippet that we saw of him, it's just in a kind of cage fight, and maybe he'll square off with Shang-Chi. But it's a bit unknown, really. Well, what can he really do in that movie? But I'm definitely intrigued to find out for sure.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so we're obviously going to talk about Loki episode 4. Without a doubt, one of the best, probably the best episode, I would have to say. I think you could kind of see that coming from last week's episode. We were really gearing up for this to be a really good episode. Overall impressions, you enjoyed it?
Oh, yeah. I there were so many times where I was, like, kind of, not even kind of, I was just absolutely shocked by what happened. Like, I just didn't see it coming at all. So, like, I really liked this episode, yeah. I thought it was really, really good.
Good. We'll kind of go through the breakdown and then probably give ratings and things and predictions and things like that at the end. So the way that it starts off is obviously like a kind of like flashback. It goes back to Sylvie when she was a child and when she had her first encounter with the TVA. I didn't realise that it would be that soon because there's been this whole time works differently in the TVA and, you know, it's a very long time for her to be living in apocalypses. But just a very interesting scene to see that her life, as we were talking about in last week's episode, is very, very different to the Loki that we know.
Yeah. And I was thinking it makes sense that her Nexus event would be just her being born in general. Like how she was explaining it, you know? Because I was saying last week, I was like, their series of events does not match up the way it's supposed to, you know? Like, it's supposed to be, like, the same for every Loki, right?
Yeah.
So I was so confused. I was like, how are they the same person, but they have such different experiences? But now it makes sense to me because just her birth in general would be the Nexus event that, like, made her be a variant, you know? I don't know if this is making sense.
I think I do get what you mean. I don't know. I don't know if it's a very confusing subject. I think to kind of like touch on, you know, kind of like grasping at straws here. But yeah, maybe it is just the fact that she was born. Maybe it's a version of Loki that was never meant to happen. It hasn't really been addressed too much. So I think that was the kind of annoying thing with Ravonna later on is that nothing really kind of got mentioned about why she was even a variant in the first place, and even in the flashback you don't really get any kind of like glimpses why it was, but you know, you can see that Ravonna and Sylvie's relationship, if you can call it that, stretches all the way back to when Ravonna was a hunter and actually took in Sylvie to the TVA.
I thought that was really interesting. I like that she was the one that brought her in.
Yeah. Like, I think 100%. I think it was shown how long Ravonna has kind of like been behind the scenes pulling the strings and things like that, as we kind of expected her to be. And she then has that kind of meeting with the Timekeepers, going back to some kind of present time. That was kind of interesting. That was our first like little glimpse at it, and I was trying to analyse it, but there wasn't really too much that you could see at that point. But obviously, our first little glimpse of it, we're starting to understand a bit more about Ravonna. Then she kind of drops the bombshell that Hunter C-20 was dead. Now, I wasn't too sure whether she was dead or not, but
me neither.
Upon hearing that and going back to what you were saying in episode 2, I think it was, where you were saying it's real. What Hunter C-20 was going and saying that there's more to it.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to kind of see that come true.
Yeah. I just want to know, like... Oh, never mind. I think I figured it out. Because I was trying to figure out, like, the entire time I was like, what was she saying was real? But I guess she was saying her memory was real. Like, where she was with Sylvie was real. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. But, like, yeah, I'm glad that they kind of... I don't know. I'm glad we got a glimpse of it later. Because I did believe that she was dead, but I just didn't know how or why she died. If that makes sense. Like, that was like, I was like, okay, I think she is dead, and I think Ravonna killed her, but I want to know why. Because obviously it wasn't just because she was sick, because she was fine. you know?
Yeah.
I was
Well,
kind of
yeah, she
like
was
with
claiming that
Mobius
it
on
was
that one. I
whole-
was like, if she's dead, then something's wrong.
Yeah,
You
I mean, she
know?
was playing the whole sort of mind. Her mind was warped and things like that, and she wasn't making any sense. And I was like, don't believe it for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, straight away you kind of get that impression that Ravonna was pulling the strings and working behind the scenes to kind of screw everyone over. It's worked out to be kind of true, really.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you obviously have Loki and Sylvie on Lamentus 1. The Nexus event that is then kind of like spiking. Kind of forces Mobius and Hunter, I think it's B-15, that they kind of like spot them and manage to bring both Lokis back to the TVA, and put Loki into a bad memory prison, which was a very funny encounter with Lady Sif.
Yeah. I just want to go back to the actual Nexus event. I was sitting there and I was thinking the same thing that Mobius said later. I was sitting there and I was like, this is the epitome of Loki. Like, literally falling in love with himself in a different incarnation. Like, that is, like, so... like, that is just something that Loki would do. I was just like, I thought that was so funny. I was just, like, cracking up the whole time about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no,
But,
it was brilliant.
Yeah. But yeah, the time...
Go on.
Yeah, the time cell thing was, like... I thought that was really funny, too. I liked that they brought her in. I kind of wish that it was just kind of, like, a lesson to be learned. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know, because I felt like...
intended to be honest. Like, I don't think it was... Like, because you look at the Sylvie, and she wasn't in, like, a bad memory prison. I don't know whether you can kind of do that with an Enchantress or what. Maybe she'd be able to work her way around it. But, yeah, I just feel like it... You know, Mobius and Loki were still having that kind of chemistry with each other and bonding that relationship. You know, the kind of like jokes and banter that they were throwing at each other before he got put in the bad memory prison. It was still very much there. Like, they're both kind of... I don't know what the right word is. It's not like trust, but yeah, they both have that kind of... They just have that chemistry with each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, no, it was very interesting to see. Cannot remember what I was going to say, so did you have anything else to mention on that, or should we move on?
No.
Cool.
No, we can move on.
The next most important part was Hunter B-15, and she obviously breaks out Sylvie in a way to basically take her back to one of the apocalypses outside Roxcart.
I just want to say, I think that, I put it in my notes. She was the last person that I thought would believe them, because I forgot that Sylvie was, like, in her mind, you know? But, like, as soon as Mobius said that to her, I was like, what did she say to her? Like, what did she do to her? Because I completely forgot about the episode 2 part where Sylvie was controlling her mind, you know? And I didn't realize that when she was controlling her mind, she was giving her memories the entire time.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, why is she, like, so willing to believe that? And then I realized, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, she's just the last person, because she was so, like, strict on the TVA rules, you know? So it just...
And I think she... I was just going to say, I think she was probably the one who didn't want to believe that everyone in the TVA was a variant the most. Like, she comes across like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, 100%. I think she was the sort of last person that you'd expect.
Yeah, but I kind of like that she was the last person that I would expect, you know? Because it made it, like, it made it seem all the more serious. Like, it made it seem like, oh, this isn't a lie that she told Loki. Like, this is a real thing. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was... I liked that they chose that character to be the one that, like, kind of kickstarts the belief in them a little bit.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because I think it was weird that... I don't know. I don't want to say weird, because Loki had come across at this point, and obviously we have known him a lot longer than the people in the TVA, so we know what his character's like, but he's just not very trustworthy at all. So, you know, why would Mobius trust what Loki says? Whereas, you know, the Enchantress kind of, going back and looking at actual memories that the variants have is a little bit more believable than Loki just saying it. Which, obviously touching on Mobius, because that's the next bit where he has that whole conversation with Ravonna. He's trying to get some little smudges of information out of her, trying to really see what's real, why he wasn't able to interrogate Sylvie, which ends up with him stealing the TemPad, or Ravonna's TemPad, to find out more information, where he then finds the interrogation footage of Hunter C-20.
Yeah. I like that they included that. I feel like the storyline couldn't have really progressed if they didn't. But I really liked the way that they went about, like, actually showing what happened. And it wasn't just kind of, like, Ravonna explaining it. Like, he had to kind of just, like, figure it out himself. I didn't 100% prescribe to the idea of not trusting Ravonna before this episode. And then in the very beginning of this episode, I was like, okay, she's definitely bad. Like, there's something going on. Like, it wasn't even, like, nothing even had really happened yet in the episode, and then I was like, oh shit, something's bad. And I have a theory about her, but we'll wait until later to discuss that. But yeah, the TemPad thing was like, I didn't realize that there was, like, a specific TemPad for a specific person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't either, to be fair. Like, I don't know. Obviously, Ravonna is of a higher position, so I can imagine that she just has more accessibility and things like that. But yeah, I didn't realise that it was the TemPad specifically that allowed her to do certain things. It was definitely interesting to see Mobius do that, because it's kind of just that, you know, really want to see what's going on, like, doesn't really trust anyone anymore, even though him and Ravonna kind of seem to have that sweet relationship almost, where they've been working together for so long, but he realises something's actually genuinely wrong and wants to fix it. Which leads to Mobius breaking Loki out, essentially, to where we get the very sad point where they are confronted by Ravonna. She realises what's happened. They're surrounded by hunters. Ends up with Mobius getting pruned.
Yeah. I was sitting there and I was like, oh my god, no. And then later on, when they were in front of the Timekeepers and stuff, and Loki was like, Lokis don't die, or whatever, or he said something along those lines. And I was like, Mobius isn't dead. I was expecting it to be a trick that Loki did, where, like, he kind of projected a Mobius next to him.
Okay, yeah.
But then when I realized that probably didn't happen, I was like, okay, they're definitely, like, not dead when they get pruned. Like, something happens to them. And that has also been confirmed by the mid-credit scene. But I was like, there's no way that, like, they're just gonna kill off a character that early. Like, I know it's, like, 4 episodes in and there's only 2 left, but, like, there was no way. I just didn't believe it. Because he was just such a big character, and I was like, they can't just, like, I don't know.
I don't know, like, it just really caught me off guard, I suppose, because, like, I know he handed the TemPad back over, but then you're kind of still thinking that him and Ravonna have that relationship. But I mean, when he handed the TemPad over, I was like, why are you not using it to just get away quickly? I guess it's true. Just, you know, Mobius has
that's another reason why I thought it was a trick. That's another reason why I thought it was a trick. I was like, if he's so willing to just, like, give over his one thing that could, like, save his life, there's no way that it was actually him.
Yeah. But I don't know. It caught me off guard. It gave me that little bit of a wow factor. But yeah, I think it's quite easy to predict that he will make a return in this series at some point. Don't really believe that he's dead. But yeah, at the time, very caught off guard for myself. Okay, so Loki and Sylvie end up having their encounter with the Timekeepers. This entire scene where Ravonna takes them up, and then they have this conversation with the Timekeepers. What were your sort of general thoughts during that?
I don't know. I wasn't really, like, during the conversation, I wasn't really having, like, too many thoughts. The only thing was from the first time we saw the Timekeepers, I was like, okay, this definitely doesn't look like where we've seen them before. And then I was like, why would we have seen them before in a different show? And I just kind of, like, put it off to, like, oh, Marvel didn't think 6 years ahead or 7 years ahead or whatever when they were writing Guardians of the Galaxy, and they put, like, that section in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end of it, it made me think a little bit differently about that. Like, after they find out who the Timekeepers really are, or what the Timekeepers really are, after the whole big fight scene and everything, I was like, maybe someone took over a long time ago, and I'm thinking it's Ravonna. Mm-hmm. Probably working for someone, but I'm thinking it's Ravonna, took over the TVA, and isolated the Timekeepers from where they're supposed to be. That's why they were in Guardians of the Galaxy with Stan Lee, just running around in space, like, floating for infinity. And then they, like, put fake animatronic, like, Timekeepers in there to, like, make it look like they're still there, you know? I don't know. That's my theory, but...
I just kind of had that feeling. I mean, this entire episode, I was just waiting for a Kang appearance, or at least mention.
Yeah.
So when you see the Timekeepers, I'm not sure if it was one or two of them, or maybe I was just getting them mixed up. But they have a strong resemblance, I'd say, to one of Kang's forms, which is kind of maybe being like, oh, is he one of them, or is he just, like, controlling all of them because, you know, that kind of, like, narcissistic nature to be like, yeah, I'm going to make one of them look like me. So yeah, I was just expecting that the entire time.
I do think that Kang is, like, behind all of it, but in my head the timeline is Kang was one of the Timekeepers, or something very similar to one of the Timekeepers. And then...
Okay.
But those, like, the original, like, not the original, but the Timekeepers, like, the real Timekeepers, were actually in charge when Ravonna became a hunter. But then...
Yeah.
After... At some point, I feel like Kang came in, took the Timekeepers and put them somewhere else, and then gave Ravonna her, like, job that she has now, her, like, head honcho job, you know? And then...
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't think that he created the image of them. And the reason why I think that is because in the courtroom scene with Sylvie, the background, I just bumped my mic, the background of the jury room where they were, I don't know, whatever, they were going to do Sylvie's case or whatever.
Yeah.
It was the same as what it is now, from what I could see of it. So I think that I think that he didn't model one of them after what he looks like. I think he might have been one of them.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think it's just like a saying that when we found that encounter that they were all droids. It was kind of just that, maybe they have just taken Kang's, like, just created replicas of them as droids in case anybody was like, oh, you're not a Timekeeper, I know what they look like.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I think that's probably the most correct theory that we've had.
Yeah.
After this encounter that Loki and Sylvie find out that the Timekeepers are droids, this is when Loki gets pruned. Your reaction to that when it happened?
I have in my notes Loki in all caps and 2 crying emojis. So I was very upset. I was very upset. And then I was like, this one has to be a trick. Like, there's no way. And then I was like, no, it's not. It's definitely not. I'm so sick of seeing Loki die. I'm so sick of it. I just hate it. It hurts me every single time. Like, even when I watch Infinity War, I know he dies in the first, like, 5 minutes of the movie, and I still cry every time. I didn't cry today, but that was just because I was like, this show is literally named after him. He's not dead. But, like,
but this is the thing.
God.
Like, I was kind of watching it, and I was just a bit like Loki, you know, before this series came out, we kind of just assumed that was going to be the end of Loki. You know, he's dead. Like,
yeah,
it
that's
wasn't
true.
in Endgame and things like that. He never got brought back with the snap.
Yeah.
And where was I going with this? That just, you know, my mind, it sent my mind racing a little bit after I kind of got over the initial, oh, Loki's dead. It was like, was this just a way to bring in Sylvie or Lady Loki, and then she just takes over? Like, maybe it wasn't just to, because your mind automatically thinks like it's going to be Loki, but technically Lady Loki is Loki. So all the way up until the mid-credit scene, I was like, maybe it will just be Sylvie's series, because she's been in the majority of it.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot more of the character development about her, slowly.
I just knew that Tom Hiddleston would be in it. For the, like, I knew he wouldn't, like, I don't know. I didn't think that was the end of him. And that was actually what cemented in my head that they weren't dead. Like, he and Mobius weren't dead.
Right.
Because I was like, there's no way they're going to kill him off in the middle of his show. Like, there's no possible reason why they would do that. I was like, those things transfer him somewhere. Like, they don't actually... And I just think it's weird. Like, it's another one of those, like, TVA weird loophole things that they don't see. You know?
Yeah.
Like, do they not know that they don't actually die when they do that? Like, I don't...
Probably not, because, I mean, it's like, once you're pruned, like, you'll never go back to the TVA, you know? So, I guess not. I guess nobody really knows.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with the mystique behind the Timekeepers, that nobody really knew who they were, what they looked like.
Yeah.
Until, you know, the few lucky people who went there. But I'm pretty sure whoever has pretty much been there, like, hasn't really come back apart from Ravonna. And now the Loki variant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes us very nicely into the mid-credit scene where, from what I believe, this is kind of like the other world, New York City, that Loki gets put into, where you get to see the other Loki variants that he ends up with. He wakes up. I don't know if I was kind of expecting a mid or post-credit scene. I don't know if that's what I was expecting or what, but it's just gonna shift the plot completely now.
When you texted me and you told me that there was a mid-credit scene, like, halfway through me watching it, and then I watched Loki die, and I was like, okay, they're gonna show us where he went.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I just because I knew that there was a mid-credit scene, I was like, they're gonna show us where he went, because he is not dead. There was no doubt in my mind that he was still alive. I was like, he has to be alive. There's no way.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't surprised. The thing that surprised me was the weird Loki variants that he saw when he got there. I was like, who are these people? I was like, what is this?
Yeah, very strange.
So, like, I don't... Like, when they get pruned, do they go to... Oh, now I'm getting philosophical. Okay. I, like, had half a thought, and then I started thinking about it again, and I was like, But I was thinking, I was like, is this where just, like, all Lokis end up? Like, are only Lokis there, is what I'm saying. But, like...
I would imagine that's where Mobius has gone as well.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if it was, like... It was just the fact that he was greeted by only Loki variants that I was like...
Yeah.
is this just like where Lokis go? And then I started thinking, I was like, well, are they just the ones that have died? Are we going to see our Loki again because he died?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I was like, that's when I started getting,
I don't think the stick works that, like, you know, you look at it and change the settings, be like, right, Loki goes to this one. Like, no, I think it's just like, where everybody who's pruned ends up. It's like the TVA's real jail. The one that we have spoken about that, like, we haven't seen, sort of.
Yeah,
thing,
that's true.
Just
that the TVA doesn't even know exists.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just what I believe it to be. But yeah, it was obviously Loki was told to go with the other Loki variant, so it's a very exciting episode.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, has me very much looking forward to next week's.
Oh yeah.
A lot of stuff happened in that. Let's go on to the ratings, I suppose. What would you give it?
I forget what I gave last week's. I think it was a 9. I would give it a 9 again.
Yeah. I was thinking like
I feel like
9. I'll probably go for a 9.
I thought it was very much on par with last week's episode.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I liked last week's episode a lot. This one, it didn't fall short for me, but I still want to say that I liked last week's better. By just like a sliver. And I couldn't tell you why. But it could honestly just be like the setting of it and like that kind of stuff, because I just loved that.
Probably.
But yeah.
This week's did feel like it was kind of a bit jumping from place to place almost. There was kind of a fair amount going on. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I would probably give it a 9 as well. Yeah, brilliant episode, and very much looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we've agreed on rating.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, predictions and theories. Let's go through them. Regarding predictions for the next ones, I think we've probably... Actually, I don't know. Have I mentioned them?
I think I've touched on mine.
But yeah.
I've touched on my theories.
Because it's kind of one of the things that like, once you go through the topics, you kind of pick up on like, oh, I think this will happen next.
Yeah. It just kind of like spills out while you're going through everything. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any theories that we haven't talked about?
Theories, yes. So obviously I came across this one, which I've mentioned to you shortly after last week's episode, which could make a lot of sense. And it's just that the TVA in Loki is Ant-Man's secret quantum realm city. Whilst Ant-Man is exploring the quantum realm, there's very like small snippets, and I love that just, you know, people have been able to analyse this much. Whilst he's diving through the quantum realm, you can see very small parts which closely resembles what we have seen of the TVA. So it could just be that this entire time they've been in the quantum realm, which would make perfect sense. That's why nobody's really been able to find it. It then links how Kang is then going to be able to come into Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania. Yeah, like I just really, really like this theory, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I do think that makes a lot of sense. And I agree that like there was something like familiar about the TVA when we saw like the first glimpse of it, and I think I couldn't put my finger on it, but it makes sense that it would be like that quantum city or whatever that we saw in Ant-Man. It makes sense. It's just
like somewhere in your subconscious, isn't it? You're like kind of oh, I feel like I recognize it. Yeah 100%. So yeah, very looking forward to seeing if it does come true. Very much like that theory. Predictions wise, I don't know. Mobius is probably going to come back at some point, right? Whether it's going to be the next episode, whether he's in what manner does he help Loki?
Oh, I think he's definitely going to help Loki now.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I mean, just sort of what manner? I don't know. I don't know how it's just a bit confused how it's going to play out, to be fair. And I guess that's what's been so good about this episode, is that it's left me a little bit intrigued to see what happens, because the Lokis are now separated.
Yeah.
And Sylvie's got to interrogate Ravonna, but I don't imagine Ravonna will budge.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What was your theory that you had?
Mine was just, it was about the Timekeepers. It wasn't really like a prediction theory, but like, I think that Kang either was one of the Timekeepers or just like took them over, and then he made the TVA what it is now. And put the animatronic Timekeepers there. And that's why Ravona's in charge.
Yeah. No, I think we could tell pretty much from the off that something was a bit off about Ravona, and that, she was abusing that power, basically. So, very much looking forward to seeing if that comes true as well. Apart from that, this wasn't really a prediction, but apart from those theories, don't have too much to touch on. There was just one bit of news which I have mentioned to you beforehand. Is that there's a rumour going around that Nicolas Cage is going to come back as Ghost Rider. I remember going to watch Ghost Rider in the cinema, so I'm a much bigger fan of this Marvel project than you probably are, having not seen it. But
I feel like
it'd be fantastic. I'd love to see that make a return.
I feel like I heard that somewhere. I don't know if you told me.
Ghost Rider has kind of been one of those like forgotten projects, and then recently, like, it's just kind of like resurfaced because everyone's kind of remembered it. And it is a pretty decent movie, to be fair. You should definitely go and watch it. And I mean, Nicolas Cage is definitely getting on now, but hell, I'd love to see him return.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I don't know anything about Ghost Rider, so I'd have to watch it to give more input on that.
So cool. Yeah, it is so cool. You need to watch it.
All right,
there's a proper spin on everything like Marvel related. But so I'm pretty sure that is everything. Looking forward to seeing if that rumour comes true about Nicolas Cage. But that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching and for listening on Spotify. Please be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new to the YouTube channel. Please be sure to check out the links in the description. You can find Care's YouTube and Twitter there. Also be a couple of annotations on the screen. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.